Hello everyone, welcome to Brenda's Bisque Box. Painting live early today on December 14th at 2 p.m. Central Time. Due to the weather we're expecting, we're doing our live early, but we will have a watch party at our normal 7 p.m. live time. And then you'll be able to watch what we're doing right now, but Courtney and I will be able to answer any of your questions. Just comment now or at the 7 p.m. show. It's just that I didn't want to have to drive an hour in freezing rain and snow and whatnot that we're expecting, so we're doing it early, but we will have a 7 p.m. watch party, and Courtney and I will be able to answer your questions. We'll be watching the show right along with you. So today we have our February box, which is our welcome stone. So in your box you would get, it would come with paper on top and a nice art quote on the top, inspirational. So in there we have our package, and on our package we have what's in our package, and then the paint list that I use to paint our samples, and you can always feel free to use whatever paints you want to use. And then on the back side we have our instructions, our typed out instructions that you can go by if you don't want to do with the live. And then we have extra little goodies inside our package. So we will show you what we have. If it's a mold company, if the Bisque is from a mold company that has mold flyers, we purchase those and include those. However, Donas molds, even though we can get new molds, we cannot get the flyers from years ago, so we don't have the flyer, but we do have our instructions that I made up as how we did the pieces step by step, and there is a front and back. Then we also have a little package with your Velcro that you will be able to put on your stone and on your inserts. Then we have this is a new item that we've used this time. It's No Fire Snow, but it's glitter No Fire Snow, so you can purchase No Fire Snow without glitter, and you can purchase it with glitter. So this time we have the glitter in the snow, so we don't have to sprinkle it on. It's a Dunkin' product, and we do carry it also, but just to give you guys a experience with another product. So this is our Dunkin' No Fire Glittering Snow. And then we always have an extra product in each monthly box that has $1 value to it that we have as part of our equation to make our boxes up. So this month we have a palette knife. Palette knives are great for putting the snow on your piece. They're great for mixing paint colors instead of using your brushes and breaking your bristles off. There's just a ton of uses for your palette knives. So that is our little ingredients for our package. And then in your box you would also find your cardinal insert and your eagle insert, and then also your stepping stone. And we're just going through it again because we had a lot of new subscribers this month. So we just want to make sure we show you everything. That's how your boxes come. So they're all bubble wrapped really well. We did have one stone arrive broke, but she messaged us and sent us a picture, and Courtney already mailed her out a brand new stone. So our packages do come with tracking and insurance, so Courtney took care of the insurance claim. We just needed the picture to file it, and her new stone is on the way. The stones were a little bit of a concern when we were shipping because they are kind of hollow and big. But we did only have one so far, so that's great. Courtney does a great job of air bubbling everything. So here's our eagle insert, and we'll put our Velcro on the back when we're done. And then here is our cardinal insert. And then something else we do offer is if you want extra Bisque paint supplies, as long as you message us, Courtney can, or Bisque, Courtney can add them to your invoice at the beginning of the month, and as long as they fit in that box, we cover the shipping on it. The other thing that we're doing is if you are a subscriber and you purchase so many supplies or extra Bisque that they don't fit in that box, you can get a second box of the same size and the shipping is $9.99, and if the shipping is more than that, we cover the shipping on that box also. And all you have to do is message us. Say you wanted 20 inserts, because we did have other inserts. You could have added a couple to this box, and if they wouldn't have fit, you could have put them in another box along with a bunch of paint and maybe some other bisque. Pay the cost of your pieces you purchased, and then the $9.99 for shipping on that second box, and we would cover the difference. Anything under 12 inches basically fits in our boxes. So you can get pretty good sized pieces, and Courtney can actually cram a lot of stuff in those boxes. So we've had a few ladies doing that, and we just thought we'd offer it to everyone. So that's kind of our new thing for this year, is the second box of this supplies. So we hold on. We're using a different phone tonight, and mine just rang. So I think this is our stone that is in our box, and your insert will go here. So it is hollow on the inside. You would not want to put this on the ground and actually step on it. It's more of a decorative piece. I did put holes in it so you could tie a knot and hang it if you wanted to hang it. And then another option is, if you get a wrought iron easel, you could sit it like by your front door or in the garden or by your fireplace, and put it on an easel also. So it's a very versatile piece. It's not necessarily just a stepping stone. So that's kind of a great thing too. And another thing we're doing with this piece is we've done a lot of dry brushing, other techniques. But this one we are going to actually wet brush. So I'm going to have Courtney come and move the camera, because it looks like we're not completely in screen here. So
do not disturb them, but I don't know if it's the right button.
So let's see if Courtney can move the camera closer to me, because that's just a little far to reach. Can I get it with my toes? So we have a little delay, so we'll have to let it catch up. That may be too close. So I pull the table away. That looks okay.
I'm gonna put your do not disturb on, hopefully.
Okay, so Courtney's gonna make another adjustment on the phone, so hold with us for a minute. That looks pretty good.
Okay, hopefully that's your do not disturb.
So hopefully everything looks good. Can you get the comments on the tablet too? Okay, so hopefully we're situated here today. All right, looks good. So we do have our welcome rock, and we're going to base coat it and then wet brush it, and we're instead of the dry brushing. But we're going to do a little bit of color washing and some painting out first with our 2 inserts, because then they will be nice and dry for next week for color washing. And we're also going to try to only do an hour, so I can head out before the rain and ice and crap sets in. So we will color wash our cardinals with our navy blue. So Nancy says, what size easel? That's probably about a 12-inch easel that I showed you. Hobby Lobby has those, and you can use like your 50% off coupon. So maybe we want to zoom in a little bit now, Courtney, sorry. So I color washed my cardinal insert with navy, and you can mix a whole container of it if you color wash all the time. If you do not, we will. Courtney hit a button, so hold on. Hopefully I didn't lose you guys. Oh, yep, I got hands. It like flipped it to you.
There you go.
Sorry, guys.
Different phone. Yeah, you're not gonna be able to do that.
Okay, she's got it.
You're gonna have to just go up. I
can't zoom in.
It's just flipping the camera on me.
Okay. So we can't zoom in, but we'll get it. So I'm going to use our navy OS 460 navy, which is Duncan, and a color wash. So I'm going to go over a lot of basics because it's the first one of the year, and we do have a lot of new people that got boxes. So color wash is a product that you used to be able to purchase, and it was a thinned paint. I don't know what the exact recipe was for it, but it's no longer available for years. So ceramic people have made up their own. So I'm going to take and make a little pile of navy, probably about, this is a little piece, so we don't need much, like that's way too much already. And you're going to have a bowl of water, and you're going to have a sponge. And I'm going to take and I just have a nylon painting brush. This is about a size 8. So for any kind of painting, where you're actually painting out and not dry brushing or wet brushing, you want to use a nylon painting brush or a golden Taklon, they're called a lot of times. I usually just refer them to as a nylon. You're going to dip in your water, and you're going to add a few drops of water to your pile of navy. And then if you have your palette knife out, you could stir your paint up with your palette knife. And I'm just going to use the brush, but I should have used the palette knife, but it's in the package there yet. So I'm now going to take that brush, and I'm just going to brush. So that was a little thick yet. So you want it about 50-50 paint and water. And then I'm going to take my damp sponge, and I only do an area at a time. And now I'm going to basically wipe that navy off on the high spots and leave it down in the crevices. So that is color washing your piece. So Courtney did bring me the palette knife. So the color wash stuff mixes up pretty good because it's thin. It's when you're using two colors of paint, you'd want to use your palette knife to mix up your paint to save on your brush bristles. So now we'll just go to our next area. So you can see it's a lot thinner than the straight paint out of the bottle. And then I'm just going to take my sponge and wipe, trying to wipe across textures, leaving the navy down in the crevices and taking it off the high spots. So like our berries and snow are higher, so it's coming off. It's just a nice light blue there. And we'll wring that out. And we'll just turn it. And again, just do another area at a time because it does dry quickly. And then it does become harder to wipe off. So if you do a little area at a time, you just have a nicer, even finish. And you can turn it around however you need to turn it around. So I'm just brushing it on there. You don't have to be really careful about it. You just want to get it all on there and get everything covered. You don't want any little white speck areas, those little flea areas we call those, because they're pesky like fleas and you can't get rid of them. And so we have everything covered now with our navy. And I'm going to take my damp sponge again and just wipe across, wiping those high areas. And if your sponge isn't wiping it all, you can wring it out. And then you can kind of get more off. But again, it's leaving the navy down in the shadows and in the crevices, and that's going to just give your piece some natural shading when we come to dry brushing it. So there we have our color washed front. And I always do my backs so they look really nice as well. You want your backs to look as good as your fronts. And you could leave this on the back, or you can wipe it off. I will wipe it off so it's kind of like the front because we'll dry brush that too. So this is color washing again, and you're basically making a mixture of paint, 50% paint and 50% water. If you know it's something you're going to be doing all the time, you can actually mix it up in a little jar with a screw top, and it'll save for you. So I'm actually doing the inside part of the little hole here where I can see. just because I can see it and it's such a little area. So I'm just going to wipe that with our color wash too, so it just all looks really nice. So now I did take longer to wipe this area, so now you can see you have darker blue and lighter blue, and that does happen when you do a bigger area at a time, and it'll just take more dry brushing to bring that up to match the lighter areas, and I wanted to do that just to show you that. So this is kind of blotchy, and this is much more even in color. You really want this much more even color than this blotchy color. So make sure you do small areas at a time. So really this should have been split up into 3 sections to avoid that blotchiness. And it's just going to take more color dry brushing to cover that. It's not a bad thing that can happen. You haven't ruined your piece, so I just wanted you to see that if you end up with that, that's okay. It's just going to take more dry brushing. Kind of the same thing that happened here on the front. And I can actually come back and put some more navy on there and kind of even that out a little bit. Even on his little belly here, it's a little bit light. And then just gently wipe it a little bit. So now we're going to let this piece sit until next week when we'll be dry brushing it, and you'll see by leaving that sit for a time period, the dry brushing colors will go on much easier. We could dry brush it right away today, but we're going to work on our stone, and so that is your color washing technique, and you can do this with any piece, and you can use any color. It all depends what color you want down in those crevices for your shading. If you want pastels, you're doing pastels for Easter's, you're probably going to go with a medium brown type of color versus a black. Like animals, I like to do black, and usually those I even base coat instead. And base coating is actually painting out your entire piece, and we'll show you that too with our rock. So we'll put our little birds aside, and now for our eagles, we're going to get that ready for next week too. So if you look on your sheet, the eagles, we're going to base coat the front and the back of that black. And actually, that's not what I wanted to do with those. We're actually going to, just to show you that you don't have to base coat the whole thing, we're going to base coat just our eagle with the black. So I have Duncan OS 476 black, and you can see color washing is very messy. So you, if you work in healthcare and dental or retail, whatever, you may want to wear gloves when you're doing that. So now I'm going to just base coat out my eagle with black, and then the rest we're going to paint. Or you can base coat your whole piece. That's totally up to you. So I'm just going to use my nylon brush, and base coating is just painting either your whole piece or a certain area on your piece with black. So I'll show you that you can do just the eagle. And I'll probably have to switch to a smaller brush to do the outside edge of it. Or you can paint the whole piece front and back with black. That will work fine too. But I'll do just the eagle, and that's just another option to show you of how you can do it. And then the black will dry over till next Thursday, so that we'll be able to dry brush that nice and easy as well. So now I'm just switched to my liner. I have a let's see, the numbers are worn off on it. It's about a 5.0 liner, and I just want to line out my eagle. I don't want to get my whole flag and everything full of the black, because the red will cover easier then. But if you don't want to do this, and you can just paint the whole thing black like the instructions say. So this would be called base coating it. We're just putting a base coat on our piece so that we can dry brush it. We're only going to dry brush the eagle on this piece, and then the rest of it we will be painting out. And painting out just means same as base coating. We're just painting it. And to paint, you just go back and forth, brush out any ridges or puddles. So you can see this would take a little longer than doing the whole piece with the black. But it's just to show you that you can combine techniques. You don't have to do just one technique on your piece. So this January box is actually a really good box for anyone that's a really beginning. You'll learn, well, we learned the color washing already, and now we're doing the base coating or painting out. And then our rock, we're going to base coat that and then wet brush that. So I'm just going right into the indent where the eagle, his little outline is. And I can try to hold it up a little closer so you can see it. So I'm just painting around him on the outside, and then I'll come back with that bigger brush and then fill it in. And then I brush out any puddles. If I have a puddle or a ridge, I don't want to leave a puddle or a ridge because that will dry as a puddle or a ridge. And then when you're dry brushing, that's going to collect on there, your lighter colors, and it's going to be really obvious that that was a puddle. So we're just going to brush this out, or line him out here quick. And then you guys will be able to see by letting this piece sit till next week how much easier your dry brushing is, because that base coat is nice and dry, and it just really takes the color a lot easier. It just goes right on. So we're just going to line him out real nice. So let's see, we had kind of a busy week. We showed you guys a little tour of the farmhouse classroom, if anyone watched that. We're getting further and further on all the little projects out there that need finishing up. And so then underneath the God Bless America, this is part of the eagle, so we are going to also paint that out. And then there's a band around it, and I think I painted my band silver or gold. I'm not sure. I'd have to have the finished one. It's at the farmhouse? In the corner where you can't get to it? You'd have to crawl under the table? Should we make Cordy crawl under the table, you guys, to get the sample? Oh, she don't have to go that far. She found it. It's just on the stand to the right of me. So I'll show you that sample once we're, the painted samples once I get this guy painted out. So I'm just going right along our banner. So hopefully you can see that well enough. And if it gets a little bit up on the banner like it did there, that's okay. You just want to brush it out so you don't have a big lump or puddle. Now I do see that this brush has some, it's kind of frayed out a little bit on the end. I did see a tip where you can take your nylon brushes and get a, like a cup of hot water. And if you dip that brush straight up and down a couple times into that, so you can see he's kind of frayed out there on, I got a frayed straggler there. You can take this brush and dip it into a cup of hot water a couple times, and it will put those bristles back together and put a nice point on your brush. So that's kind of another good little tip to know if you have nylon brushes and they're all splayed out all crazy. You can just get yourself a cup full of hot water and dip it up and down a couple times in the cup, and that's supposed to put those bristles back into shape, bring that point back to your brush. So I'm just going right along our that little ridge where the what color do we have? I'll show it to you. I have gold on it. So here is our eagle in our stone, so I have gold around the outside. So I'm just bringing that eagle feathers up to that gold edging that's on there. So if you do get black on there, it's okay. It's not going to ruin it. Everything is pretty much fixable, even if you do get the wrong color somewheres or don't like what you did, you can just repaint it. The only thing that's probably not fixable is if you drop it and break it into a million pieces. But the painting itself is very, very forgiving. You can go back and change things, repaint stuff. If it does get too much on it and you have access to a kiln, you could have that person fire it off. So now I grabbed my bigger brush and I'm just going to fill in my bigger areas here. And then just kind of brush it out. So that's fine if you get that black on there. You don't have to waste a lot of time lining it out perfectly. So we're just going to paint him out, which is just painting his base coat color on him, making sure you don't have any little white fleas. So like I had a little white speck underneath his beak there. And as it dries, as your paint dries, you'll see those white specks coming through. That's just a normal thing. You're not doing anything wrong. So I need a little more black here. I'm just going to fill it in, and I'm just doing the eagle's head. That's all we're going to do on this piece to show you can combine the painting with the dry brushing. And I'm just looking for white specks, and they're just showing up as our paint dries, so I just go back and do another little coat on him. And we still got one under his chin there. Do you have the Christmas and the poinsettia and the other insert? We do have the two Christmas inserts now. We have the poinsettia insert and then the pine cones and the spruce boughs that are on the insert, and you could add those to your box for February if you wanted. You just can send us a message and Courtney can add those to your invoice when she does invoices. So he's painted out now, basically, just meaning that the black is on our bird. So we will set him aside until next week and let that dry nice. So now we will come to our rock. I'm just going to wash out my liner brush. And I need a little bit of room. So now Courtney brushes all your pieces so there shouldn't be full of dust, but if you have, anytime you have a new piece, you want to dust it otherwise and make sure it's not full of dust. Because this piece is probably going outside, we are also going to paint the inside of this because it's not glazed. And you guys don't have access to a kiln, so we are going to paint the inside with the black, and then when we seal it, we'll spray the sealer inside here as well as on the front and the sides. So I have my black, and now I'm just going to start on the inside, and I'm just going to brush back and forth. Just grab your paint, brush it back and forth, and then once you have where it's not covering well, you just grab another paint full of brush and brush back and forth. I know some of you may know how to do this, but we do have new ladies and gentlemen, so we do want to show everything from the beginning and the whole process, and that it's not fast, it all takes time. So I'm just getting more black, and we just want to brush. You want to get down in there as much as you can. It'll be hard to get up underneath the lip of that, but you can get down into your side there as much as you can and just brush that out. So I won't do the whole inside here just to waste time to do all of that, but I'll just give you an idea how to do that inside. Just get down in there with your brush and then paint this whole inside, just because it's probably going outside and it'll give it some extra protection. Anytime you have ceramics that are outside, you do want to bring them in for the winters, or if you're in any kind of a freeze-thaw area for winter, you do want to bring them in. That doesn't, they don't do well with that. They do okay, but they'll last a lot longer if you bring them in. So you can see I'm just getting down inside here as much as I can, and that'll help protect your piece. And then I'm just going to brush out the rest of this inside area and just keep brushing back and forth till you have nice coverage with no white showing through. So now you would do that whole inside. So now I'll just go to our rest of our rock here, and again you're just going to do the same thing. You want to get that inside rim of how thick your piece is. You also want that covered with paint. You always want to do your back so that they look nice even if they're not going outside. Oh, Cordy says I'm out of frame. Which way do I need to go?
You're fine now.
I'm fine now. So we're just going to paint this whole piece so you can see that it does take time. You can see as it's drying here, these little white areas that are a little bit deeper, they're popping up. I usually just finish my whole piece and then come back and do a second layer or second coat and cover those up. I'll maybe have Courtney base coat the inside of this guy this week while I'm gone. We'll get her painting yet, you guys. And then that'll be ready for next week on the inside, but you probably don't need to watch me paint the inside. I'd rather you see me doing the rock here itself to see that you do get those little white specks here and there. That's totally normal. You're not doing anything wrong. So we'll just paint this around here. Get inside your little holes for your hangers. Anywhere that there's white bisque, we want to cover that on this particular piece because it's likely going outside. So we're just going to brush back and forth, brush out. So like now here I have this big puddle of paint. I don't want a puddle of paint. I want to brush that until there's no puddle. If you leave a puddle like that when we dry brush, the dry brushes or the wet brushing is going to catch on there. And it's not going to look real good. So let's see. I should take a look here at questions. How are we doing with questions, Courtney?
Okay. So
Huh?
is there a base coat with matte or satin?
So usually the ceramic paints really don't come as matte or satin. They just come, the acrylic just comes as it's the way it is. It's a very flat paint. It's not shiny. The matte or the satin or the gloss will come when you go to seal it. If you're buying like non-ceramic brands of paint, that's probably where you're seeing the satin type of paint or the flat. I think Mako may have the flat black. I don't remember exactly. There is one company that actually does have flat black. You wouldn't. I mean, you can use that. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you're using the non-ceramic brands of paint, that's probably where you're going to see the more of the satin or the flat. For dry brushing or wet brushing, you're probably going to want to buy, if that's the type of paint you're buying, you're going to want the flat versus the satin. I do suggest using the ceramic brands of paint. They cover better, even though they cost a little more. They cover better. They're going to wear better. You're going to have less frustration when you're trying to dry brush, and just because of the better coverage that you're going to get. That's not to say you can't use those other brands, because people do, and I have myself. I know in particular for the Minnesota Vikings purple, none of the ceramic brands have that shade of purple, and I have to go to the hobby store and buy that shade of purple in a craft paint. And I can tell you that it takes twice as many coats to get that purple to come through, if not more. And I actually had my sister, who was a non-ceramic person, base coat something for me with that color purple, and she wasn't happy with it because of how many coats it took. You could see through it. So there's definitely a difference in the ceramic paints and the craft store paints. So you kind of get what you pay for. So we're just gonna get our little holes. I can see some white in them yet. I am going to flip him over now, or it, get some more black. And now we're just gonna work our way around our side. I'm gonna move the water so I don't spill it and get a drink because it sounds like my voice is getting hoarse. So, you could base coat this in another color if you don't want the black. If you wanted more, the stone I did is more of the grays. If you wanted more of a brown stone, I would go like with a black brown, a real dark brown instead of the black, and then pick your browns, like 3 shades of browns. So that's something we'll go through picking colors when we get this guy base coated, and I can kind of show you. The grays are a great example because they're you can see the difference in color. You want to use, when you're deciding to paint something, you want to use different colors, the values of the color. You want to use like a dark shade, a medium shade, and a light shade. And we'll go over that once we get to that part of it. But I'm just working my way around and base coating our piece here. And we can call this base coating, or we can call it painting out. And just trying to be a little more explanatory with the process, because I did have a new lady come to the shop Tuesday who had no experience with painting. And so when I told her she could paint out her piece, she had no idea what I was talking about. So if you guys are sitting at home and you got this box for the first time and I say, well, base coat your piece, and then I came on with a black piece that's already done, you had no idea what I meant to do when I said to base coat the piece. So that's why we're going through this kind of real basic and real simple and real thorough. If you ever do have a question, you can message us, or like now on the live, you can put a question in the comment. Courtney's, I know I'm busy here painting, but my daughter Courtney is part of this business, and she's doing the camera part and monitoring you guys' comments, and she'll say, oh, you got a question. So type your questions in and we'll answer them as much as I can. And I should be able to. So this is basically called base coating, what I'm doing right now, or painting my piece out, and I'm just giving it a complete coat of paint. This particular piece is all in one color. As the eagle, no, we only did part of it, but that was still like a base coat on the eagle, or I painted out my eagle. And I'm just giving it its first coat of color that we're going to use to do the different techniques that we're going to do. The cardinals, that was color washing, and color washing is just a thinned out paint, and you paint it on and wipe it off. It's kind of the reverse of antiquing. Antiquing is another technique. There used to be lots of different antiquing colors available, and there aren't anymore so many, so you can make your own antiquing color the same way as you make your color wash color, except that antiquing is usually done after your piece is painted out, and it will generally darken your colors a little bit, and they won't be as true to color after you antique them. After you paint on that thinned out color and then wipe it off, you're going to notice that your colors are probably darker than they originally were. So that's kind of why a lot of people like the dry brushing. They do the color wash, dry brush their colors, and then it can be sealed and your colors stay more true to their color. So now I did make it all the way around my rock, so now I'm just going to start on the middle, and I can show you. I'm just holding it with my hand. You could put this on a turntable too once you had the bottom painted, and then you wouldn't have to hold it. I'm kind of holding it up a little higher so you guys can see, because we're not able to zoom in with this phone that we have today, the camera. So I'm just holding it up a little higher so you can kind of just see what I'm just brushing back and forth using a bigger size brush. An 8 or a 10 is good for this size of a piece. If you go smaller, it's just going to be, you can still get the job done. If you don't have a larger brush, it's just going to take you a little longer, that's all. So Courtney says we got a question.
Debbie got the lighthouse insert, and she's just curious how you would paint
So Debbie got the lighthouse insert, and she's curious how I would do that. I would also do that with the color washing like I just did with the cardinals, probably with that same blue, and then dry brush it from there. Probably do the sky. I'm trying to remember what it looks like. It seems like there was sand on it, and
There's like some seagulls.
so there, Cordy says there was, I'm trying to remember exactly what it looks like. There's sand, like sand dunes on the bottom though, right?
Yeah.
So I'd probably do like probably color wash the whole thing with the brown, and then, or not brown, with blue, because there's more sky than anything. And then I would, Courtney's showing me the picture of it. I would use like a medium brown and on the sand dunes on the bottom half, and then a real light brown for the sand. Use probably a dark brown and a medium brown on that post that the seagull is sitting on. I'd probably bring up a picture of seagulls on the internet and pick out one that I like and go with those colors, probably 3 shades of gray, because I think seagulls are usually gray with some white in them. The White House, or I would then do the sky background because that's lower than the lighthouse. I do my sky with some medium blue and then some baby blue, kind of with some different shades across it. Instead of just solid medium blue and solid navy blue, I would probably like have, say this was that insert, I would probably have, usually I think it's darker further away and lighter closer up. So I'd have my skyline, the navy, and then I would come with my medium on the whole thing, but then I would probably come with baby blue from the top down about 1/3 of the way. And then I would, and that would be all dry brushing. And then I would probably do my lighthouse depending upon what colors you want. I don't know, for some reason I'd probably do red. I'd probably dry brush that with some rust and then some red. You can have some white in there too. Usually they have white. A lot of times you see white and red lighthouses. You could just look up a lighthouse color or a lighthouse picture on the internet and kind of go with the one that you find the colors. But I would dry brush it. Then I would just spray it with probably the matte sealer. If you wanted, you could probably go with the satin sealer because of the water. That would have a little bit of a wet look to it that way, and not too much, because gloss I wouldn't go. That would just make it look like it was glazed and sealed. But I would like probably go with the satin, so it has just a little bit of a wet look to it with the satin. So hopefully that helps. But yep, I would just color wash it and then dry brush it out. So we're just painting out this guy, or base coating him. And it just takes a little bit of time. And then you do have to go back and fill in brush over any little white specks you have. You don't want any specks. Believe it or not, however tiny they may be, they're going to stick out like a sore thumb once we get to painting, doing our wet brushing. So you really want to make sure you don't have those little white specks. Because even though they look tiny, once you start painting, they they're almost like a glowing in the middle of the night flashlight. They just really stand out. So I just want you guys to see the whole process as we start out the year. And you can see that it doesn't take a long time, but it's not, I don't want to like show up with a piece that's completely done, base coated, and say, well, we base coated this and now we're going to start. I want you to see the whole thing, that you do have to go back and touch up them little spots and put a second coat here and there. So let's see what else is going on. Hope you guys are enjoying the winter. It's actually a really mild winter here for us. We don't have much snow, but we do have a storm coming in. We could have, I think, like 8 inches by Saturday, but it kind of depends how much rain and ice we get. We've been in the 30s, so it's going to start out with rain and then go over to ice and then snow. So we're they're not really sure where the cutoff is going to be. And usually I'm kind of like in the cutoff between Courtney's house and my house. There's kind of a big difference in the weather. So that's kind of our reason for going early here today. But we will be on the watch tonight, and we will comment, her or I, and probably both of us. So yesterday I did go to the storage unit, and we moved some molds. We have a load of molds that are in the way of the Easter mold, so we got those moved out of the way and some more shelves put up. And I was able to pull a few of the Easter molds, and they're just in a stack there. I didn't really have time to bring them back to the house as well, but found some cute Easter bunnies, found a bunch of eggs. I mean, we know they're there, so it's not like they were found, but it was just a matter of getting to them. Found a couple of Easter baskets. We do have the basket that goes with these impressions, as well as the big cookie jar and lid. And then the mailbox guy with the lid. I knew those were there. It was just a matter of finding them in that last load, and that load was put onto a pallet, and I did pull those molds out. I think the mailbox one would fit. The recipe card mailbox one would fit in the Bisque box, although the basket and the large cookie jar probably would not. Courtney asked if either of them she would want to ship. Definitely the mailbox is okay, the recipe card mailbox. I'm saying here all the time today. Sorry, guys. The cookie jar is pretty big. It's probably over 12 inches. That's the only, I know once we get to 12 inches, that's a problem with price. With the shipping, I'll have to pour it and actually get the measurements on it for you. The basket is probably over 12 inches too. But we do have those if you'd want to pay the shipping, extra shipping, but shipping's probably going to start out at $25 on those, I'm guessing. I'm not sure. So I'm just going back over my piece here and getting it kind of a second coat, trying to get all those little white fleas covered up, because I really don't want to see those. I can try to tip it up here. So this is what I'm talking about. These little white specks, hopefully you can see it. I'm in camera. We'll give it a second to catch up. And it looks like it. So there's some little white, they're like the size of a grain of salt. After your paint dries, you just seem to get those. We'll move it up just a little more. And you want to go back and cover those up, because once we're painting, they're going to really stick out. So we're just going to go back and give this a nice little extra coat here and get those little white fleas. A lady that I used to go to, she's long gone. She always, that's what she called them, and that's just kind of stuck with us, because they're as pesty as fleas. You think you got them covered up, and sometimes you got to go 3 or 4 times. If it's a piece with a lot of texture, like Christmas trees, and you think you got them all covered, and as soon as it dries, they just pop up, and there they are. So they're about as pesty as fleas, and I think that's why she called them that, and that's what we call them too. So Vi, her name was Vi. So Vi is still with us to this day, even though she's gone. She's our little flea lady. So we're going to just work our way around our side and get all those little fleas covered up. Get that extra coat on there. So I'll be pulling more Easter stuff. I did hope to have our next box sample with me today, but I need to get it fired and painted yet. There just has not been enough time. That was our goal, was always to have it the Wednesday after the box shipped, but it was just too much going on, especially with the kilns. Both kilns broke down twice here on me, so the large kiln has its part. The element is on its way, and the new insulators were causing problems. It was shorting out. So those shipped yesterday, so I'll be able to get that back online as soon as that gets here. The little one, I stopped and got new electrical connectors. That kiln's actually from 1981, and it wasn't new when I bought it, and those, after years, they just get rusty and short out and come off. And so I have those parts to get that one fixed. It's just a matter of putting it back together, and then we'll be back online with those. And then Friday, which I don't know, because now the weather's kind of changed, Courtney. We're probably not doing that Friday. We also have a kiln that we're going to be moving to the classroom, so I don't have to cart our classroom pieces home and fire them and then cart them back and end up breaking somebody's stuff. We don't want that happening. So now I'm just looking my little piece over here, because I thought I had all my little fleas, but they're still popping up here and there. And we'll flip him over and see if we can get the back. So there's a lot going on besides shipping the boxes. So Courtney and I tried to do some planning for our boxes for the next couple months as well, and supplies that our extra tool that we're gonna put in those. We got to do that for about an hour and a half maybe on Tuesday. I think we're going to be carrying some of Bisque pieces that we cannot get the molds for. You can only buy the Bisque from Gare and Mako. So we've had requests for some of those items. So I have to fill out the paperwork for that stuff, and then we'll be able to put in an order for some of Mako and some of Gare's Bisque items that we can add to the shop. And we could even ship those too. I guess I didn't even think of that. So we can ship those too. So this guy should be painted on the inside as well. I'll have Courtney do that this week while I'm gone. She don't know that yet, but she does now. So now I'm going to wait. So my front here is a little bit wet. So we'll just let that dry. And it looks like I got most of my fleas. And how are we doing on time, Courtney?
2:53.
Oh, 2:53. So this is actually probably a really good stopping point.
Could you describe like wet brushing for those who don't?
So I guess if you want to work ahead, Courtney asked if I could describe wet brushing. Actually, we can do that. I can actually show you in one little corner. That way, if you want to work ahead, you can. So I'm going to wash out my brush, and if you're new also, when you're washing out your brushes, just brush back and forth on the bottom of your bowl, or if you have Harold's brush cleaning pad. And I don't see mine from here. He's usually in the bottom of my bowl. You just brush gently across that. You don't want to be stabbing and jabbing in that water, because that's going to break your bristles off. You just want to go back and forth. So this is Harold's brush cleaning pad. It's a wad of plastic or rubber. I usually have that in the bottom of my bowl, and you would just also rub. So you would just gently rub back and forth on that, and that cleans that brush out right up to your ferrule. You want to get all that gunk out of there. And you want to do it gently. You don't want to be stabbing and jabbing and poking, because that's going to break all those bristles off, so you don't want to do that. Then we do carry those brush pads as well. So where's my instructions? So we're going to go with our eagle, or our rock. So we have it all base coated black. And I'm going to get my charcoal, which is, we're just going to start with this, but I'm not going to finish it. It's just in case someone wants to keep going today or this week. And then you also want a flat, I like to use a flat brush for wet brushing. So normally we've been dry brushing, but we're going to wet brush this piece. So in one of our boxes from June through December, you would have gotten this flat brush, a size 8. Because of the size of the piece, I do like to go with a bigger flat brush. You can use a round brush if you don't have a flat one. The round one is probably going to give you more pointy, where the flat is going to give you nice wide color. So we're going to start with our charcoal, OS 475, and I'm going to shake that up. And we're going to get a little bit on our palette here. And I do use foil because I like to just throw that out and not keep it. So now I'll bring this in. I'm going to take my brush and I'm going to get a little more paint in it than I usually do with dry brushing. So I'm just getting it on my tip. So hopefully you can see that. And then you're not going to go on your paper towel and brush it out. You're going to come to your piece and you're going to touch lightly and you're just going to drag it. And now you can see there was a lot there and it finally got to a little. And then you can come back and you're just going to drag your color. So I'm going to go back and grab some more paint. And I tend to want to wipe it out because we've been dry brushing. But you're just going to start on the edge of your piece. Lightly touch it. You're not like bearing down on it. You're just touching your surface and dragging it. And you kind of don't end up with, you have a little bit of brush marks, but not a lot. And by the time we're done, you really won't have brush marks because we're going to be adding other colors to it. So you're just going to, hopefully you can see, lift it up here a little bit and wait for it to catch up. So I'm just touching the edge and gently dragging it. And grab some paint. And then, so I usually do like this whole, I would do this whole top area. So it's kind of a hit and miss thing. Grab some paint. And now I don't want to touch this down really, really hard because I don't want to see where I started. So I'm going to touch really light and I'm actually going to go into my gray a little bit, into my charcoal, touch lightly, and then just drag it again. So you really don't see where your brush is starting and stopping. You're not pushing hard at all. So you get some paint, kind of just start in an area and then just kind of drag it. So we're just dragging it. Just kind of letting the brush drag. And if you want more of the charcoal, you can come back and do more. So I do like the wet brushing for on rocks, scenes with rocks and mountains in them. I actually have a vase with the mountains on it, and I meant to bring it along to show you guys. So I can take a picture of that when I get home and post it, so you can see kind of a finished product. So you're just grabbing that paint, barely touching your rock, and just dragging across it. And just go as far as, like now there's not much paint coming out, so I know I need more. So I'm going to go back and grab some paint. I'm going to start in the air. Even though I ended up here, I'm going to start back here further. But I'm going to touch really light because I don't want to see where I started and stopped. So I'm just dragging it across. So and you can flip your brush over. We'll just drag it. And we'll drag right through the center here. So even though we're dragging it, there's not a whole lot of brush marks. And once we get the other colors on it, they kind of blend and you won't see brush marks. You probably will through here, but I would probably do a little more dry brushing on that center part there. And then if you're when you come to doing the side, you can drag down. And if you do get too much, you think you got too much paint in your brush, you can always touch your paper towel. But see, there's quite a bit of paint in that brush. So I can drag down, or I can drag sideways. It kind of depends what you want to do. I would probably drag down myself on these, on the sides here. So I'm just starting at the top edge there, and I'm just dragging that wet brush down. And I'm not putting pressure on it. I'm just basically barely touching it and then dragging it. And you can see like there's not much color there, so then I have to go back and get color. And it's probably comparable to dry brushing in that you don't want a whole lot of black left. You want more color. The black is just your shading. But by the time we get all the other colors on it, the 2 other grays and some white, there won't be a lot of black left. So I'm just dragging it. And you want to come right down around the back, because you always want those backs finished too. But I'm just really gently, barely touching it and dragging that color. So that's wet brushing, you guys. It goes quick, a lot quicker than dry brushing. You can't do it on. It all depends what kind of a result you want. Like I do like the wet brushing for rocks. Even let's see, birds or wildlife with a lot of texture. It's great for pieces with a lot of texture, I should say. So maybe birds, or you got a bear or something with a lot of texture. The wet brushing works great on that. If you have a piece with like a mountain scene or something and it's got a lot of pressure, so now that I automatically went to my paper towel and wiped my paint off, because that's just natural habit there. So I'm just barely touching it and then dragging it. So I'm really getting the high spots and leaving the black down in the crevices, just like we do when we're dry brushing. I'm just grabbing that paint, starting at the edge, and then just dragging it, lightly dragging it. And then you can go back, say I want more charcoal on there. Just go back and add some more. So it all depends how much black you want coming through your rock. So you can actually just go, and you can see you really don't have any brush strokes in there. It just kind of excuse me, just kind of lays it on there. You just keep grabbing it.
I wanted to ask if you could do this on Christmas trees to make it a candy cane stripe.
So Wanda asked, could you do this on Christmas trees to make a candy cane stripe? So I'm sure you could. Anything with a lot of texture, this works really well with. And say you had brush strokes, like through here, there's a bit of a brush stroke. You can actually go in a different direction. You can drag it, and that will kind of get rid of that brush stroke if you have a real strong brush stroke somewheres. Like here we have brush strokes, so I can actually just go in the other direction, and that kind of, they kind of cover each other up and get rid of it. Even here, like we have brush strokes going this way, I can come the other direction with that wet brush, and that just takes that brush stroke out of there. So by the time we get our other colors on there, we won't have brush strokes showing. It'll just be a nice coverage.
Well, you're going to put more colors on.
Yep, we're going to put more colors on, but so you basically want to cover your whole rock with this charcoal first.
Like how much coverage you have currently on there or more?
So Courtney's asking how much coverage would they put on. It depends how much black you want showing through. Probably I like about 10% black showing through. Now your welcome is going to stay pretty black. We're not going to like fill that in. So I'm just probably have like 10% of the black showing through if you think about it like that. Because it's just like the shading that's down in the crevices of the rock.
Okay, for people like me, so what you have done is enough, or you would keep going?
So Courtney asked if for someone like her that's never done ceramics and doesn't know, would you stop at this point or would you keep going? So this area is about where I would stop at. So if it looked, we'll do it really light over here.
So like underneath the welcome looks like it has more gray than where the top of the welcome is, I guess, to me, if I was painting.
So you think it has more gray on the bottom than the top?
For some reason.
I know it looks kind of even. Okay. Like, so Courtney thinks there's more gray in some areas than others. So there is less gray here. I would want more. So this specific area right here, there's not much gray, but there's a lot of black. I would want it to look more like this. So this is probably like 50%, 60% black and 40% gray. This is more like 80 to 90% gray and 10% black. I would want it more like this because we're just using the black as shading down in the deepest crevices. So I would just come back and...
And I have one more question. So the black that I see, that will stay there then if I don't do it?
So Courtney asks if the black that she currently sees, is that going to always stay there? Yes, this black will always stay there. Okay. It's not going to be as strong, and I can show you with the other rock. By the time you get the other colors on it, your black isn't so black. So we'll put 2 more shades of gray on here, and then I actually made a color wash or a watercolor with blue and put a little blue underneath the name, and that's just another thing to show you guys to do. It's kind of through here. So the black doesn't look as black once we get going.
And Lisa asked, when would you dry brush versus wet brush?
So we have a question of when would you dry brush versus wet brushing. Anything with a lot of little details, so like so this is it has lots of little things. I wouldn't really wet brush this. That's why we're gonna dry brush it. You could wet brush your cardinals if you wanted, but you really can't. This space needs dry brushing. I don't know how to explain it because it's very smooth. There's no texture for that brush to catch. So your birds have a lot of texture, so you could wet brush them. You would just need a smaller flat brush, probably something like this 3. You could wet brush your birds with a smaller brush. It's just a smaller area. So if I'm wet brushing, it's going to be something with a lot of texture. So like this rock has a lot of texture to it. These birds have a lot of texture. Something with a lot of texture is where I would wet brush. And if it's also a big area, like this is a big area, so I have a lot to wet brush. So this is a little bit daintier, but I probably wouldn't wet brush anything smaller than this, just because it's going to be harder to do, even with a little brush. But anything with a lot of detail in it, like the rock has a lot of detail, a lot of crevices and roughness to it, that's where wet brushing is really good. So I hope that explains that. So Chuck says, could he wet brush a tree? Yep, you can wet brush a tree. If it's a tree with a lot of texture, like the Jolly tree from Mako, I probably would not wet brush that because it's very smooth. But like the Noel Christmas tree or the Atlantic Christmas tree, the Holland Christmas tree, you could definitely wet brush any of those. And being a bigger tree, just use a bigger brush. That's all. And then I do like to go with 3 colors. So I'll just show you that really quick too. So when you look at the color wheel, it has values on it. And let's see, do we have a color? So we have our color wheel, and on the back side of it, or on one side of it, I should say, is all grays from white to gray, and that's where they're talking about color values. So color values, if every color you picked was the same color value on the color wheel, your piece would be very boring. Like if I picked, so now I have this gray on here, which is on our color wheel. So we have dark, medium, and light as far as the values on the color wheel. We have the dark charcoal, we have the medium ash, and we have the light gray. So instead of picking grays, say I went to, that one's kind of, let me see, I need a brown that's equal to that. So when I look at the color wheel, this charcoal is way over here. You want to compare your color to the value of the gray on the color wheel. So it's not black. but it's probably like this value here. So that's different than this value over here of the gray. So that's a different value. So that's a lot of contrast. And you want contrast when you're painting your pieces because that just gives them more life and more interest. But if it wasn't going with grays, say I went, I wanted to add brown now, but I'm going to pick this is saddle brown. Saddle brown on the color wheel is going to be very close to the, so it doesn't compare to the white because it's darker than the white. But as I bring it around my color wheel, it is very close to my charcoal color. So if we put our charcoal and our saddle brown together, they're very close in color value. So if I went and put brown on here now, they're almost going to blend together and not be so noticeable as the gray and the light gray. So that's why you wouldn't want to have all the same values of one color. And that's why I usually go with three color values. You have your dark value, your medium value, and your light value. And you can find that in any color. So say I did this charcoal and now, I want brown. But I look at my color wheel and this color of brown is actually pretty close to my charcoal. So I wouldn't want to use that brown, but I could look at my other browns, say my medium brown. So medium brown, even though I don't want gray, I want brown. This medium brown is not the same value on the color wheel as the charcoal. So I can move this, so you can see it. The medium brown is a lot lighter than our value on the grayscale of the charcoal. So if I move this around, it probably comes more in comparison to this. So it's more of our medium color. So this would make a good medium color if you wanted to switch to brown now. Because we have our charcoal, which is dark, and we have our brown, which is medium. So that's why you don't want to have the same color values. So you can see that these two are very much the same. It would be very boring and they'd blend together and you really wouldn't notice the different colors. But if we went to that color brown or this color gray, they're in the middle value, so they're very different from each other, and they would give a lot of contrast to your piece. And so that's what you want, is contrast in your color values, and that's where your color wheel comes in really handy if you're not good with that. But you can just take your bottles of paint and put them together, and you can see this one's dark, this one's medium, and this one is light. So you have a dark and medium and light, and we can do that with any colors. And I think Courtney put on our Brenda's brush strokes in Bisque. Is it under resources? Under the resources tab, we have like the color selected for you, even to like give you. So if I wanted blues, I have the dark is navy, my medium value is medium blue, and my light value is baby blue. So you can see we have dark, medium, and light. And when you look at that on the color wheel, our navy, it's not black, but it's probably over here in comparison to like the 3. But if I bring it over here, it wouldn't be my light value because that's white and it's way darker than that. But you're not comparing the color to color, you're just comparing how bright or how dark it is. So that's kind of my dark color. And now my medium, when I put that there, that's a lot lighter than that, so that you want to bring that over. And that's probably more equal to the number 7, so that gives me a medium value. And now if I bring my light, my baby blue, well, that's way lighter than my dark color, and it's still lighter than my medium color, and it's not white, but it fits in here where it's my light color. So your color wheel is a really good tool to use, and we do have those available too. But just to make it easier, always have a dark color, a light color, and a medium color, and that will give your piece a lot of life to it, and a lot of contrast, and it won't be so boring as if you had the same values of color, whether they're the light colors. Let me see, so even my gray and my baby blue are the same value of color on the color wheel because they're both on this light side over here. and they would blend together just like those two dark colors would blend together. So hopefully that helps a little bit with the color wheel too, and why when you see our color lists and why I pick what we're painting, it's really based on dark, medium, and light color values, and that's why our piece, you can see it's really boring right now because our black is our darkest color value, and our charcoal is not much lighter than it. But now when we add our medium and our light color to it, look at how much life our rock has. It's not boring anymore. So you can see that's why dark, medium, and light are really important, to use different color values on your pieces.
Would you use the same concept for glazing?
So Cordy asked if you'd use the same concept for glazing. Yep, I'd use it for well, that's a kind of a that's kind of a little deeper than that. Okay. Because glazing, you may glaze your piece just one color if it's a vase. Okay.
I meant like if you glaze the garden gnome.
Oh, like to glaze a garden gnome? Like you would probably underglaze it and then put the clear glaze over the top. Yes, I would use the same dark, medium, and light on most pieces. Glazing may be a little bit different if you're glazing say you have a vase and you just want it the one color.
What about like airbrushing?
So Cordy asked for airbrushing. Yep, you want to use your different color values. Basically with just about everything you want to use your different color values. But you can see how those different colors, the dark, medium, and light, and here we have like basically two darks. It's very boring, and you wouldn't want your rock to just look like that. So we're gonna give it more life. So I think that's gonna be it for today, so I can get out of here before the rain and ice hits. But you can finish wet brushing your piece, and you don't have to wet brush on the inside. Just do the bottom of your rock though. Do your sides, and you should be good if you want to, or you can wait until next week, and we will pick up. I'm not gonna finish this. I'm gonna leave it so we can pick up at this point. So, because it is a new technique, we want everyone to kind of see how the wet brushing works. Mm-hmm. So Chuck put that you can blend, glazes can be blended. Yes, they can. So you could start with a red at the bottom of your piece, and then go to an orange, and then to a yellow. Everything is really. It's really cool how you can do so many different things with ceramic stuff and airbrushing and oh, got my head in the way. Sorry, guys. So does anyone have any questions for today yet? You can message us if you're having problems with your piece. Just take a picture and send me a message.
We'll be in the comments at 7.
This will be saved as all our other videos are, so that you can go back and watch it at any time. We will do the watch party tonight at 7, just like our usual live, except that I'll be at home and Courtney will be at her house, and we'll watch the video along with you guys. And then if you have questions, anyone that didn't watch today, or if you're watching for the first time tonight, just write your questions in there and we'll respond to them. So I think that's about it for this week. Probably stay tuned for...
You'll be at the classroom Saturday.
Saturday we'll be at the classroom. Tuesday we'll be at the classroom. Hopefully the weather is better storm's all done by then. Probably post pictures of things that are going on again like we usually try to do. So have a great week, you guys. Hope that you're okay with our live today, but we just wanted to avoid the weather and not have to cancel completely. But we'll join you tonight at 7 with the watch party, and have a great week, you guys.